Hello, Tyler Bryden here. Hope everything's going well. Covering an interesting story, as I try to do every single video, but this one today specifically about Getty images. And what came up is that Getty, and it seems like Shutterstock, following in their footsteps, is basically banning AI-generated images over copyright concerns. And these are engines that I've talked about in many videos. I'll link a couple of them possibly, like DALL-E, Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, where people are typing in text prompts and then generating these sometimes unbelievably beautiful images out of it. So I've got all of those linked here. The old DALL-E, you can see some of the images. So blah blah blah, la la la, dee-da-dee, and Midjourney, and then I've got one more with Stable Diffusion. And what's super interesting about this is that these engines were trained on sort of the internet's data, and that's how they gather their understanding of language data, of images, and moving towards video, moving towards sound, and then when you type in that text prompt, you were then generating something that in idea is something unique based off that prompt. But in actuality, these engines have been trained off the internet's data, and a lot of these pieces are media data created by original artists, real people who the first version of these were the original. And now now with these engines, even if we're looking at something like a simple example like sort of copying, say, an artwork style of someone, their understanding is scraped, but their understanding of these engines is collected by scraping those data, analyzing those images, and then generating the unique unique in quotations, and this is where this is coming from, version of that image through these engines. And this is I think super interesting, especially it makes sense that the confidence in using Getty images or Shutterstock, these sort of image sites where you are buying a photo that's relevant. Maybe it's for marketing, maybe it's for mostly for marketing, but for creative projects, whatever it is that you are confident that you're not going to my hands are floating here. They're sitting on my desk on my new mic. I'm sorry. I feel like this is weird. You want to be confident that they're not going to create any legal issues for you. So if you're buying images, first of all, you're a good person. You're buying these images and not just ripping them off the web. So that's plus one to you. Ideally, when you pay for that, you actually do the proper path of getting images, of getting this stuff. You are not getting then in legal problems. And there's been many times, even on past sites that I've seen, been part of, websites that I've hooked into where I've been a contact point on those websites, and I've actually gotten an email from systems where I said, hey, this image is, originally from X. Here's the original owner. Here's, you must, we insist that you take this image down, but more than taking this down, it's actually going to be, hundreds of bucks or thousands of bucks for you have, sort of infringing on this originally. And it seems like those systems were relatively, personalized and automated. Super, super interesting. I never, I don't think they were ever persecuted against, but I think that's, something that a lot of people have the experience of is like the world needs images, they need illustrations, they need art. And if you are going to use them, especially in a commercial sort of pretense, you ideally know that those are legal to use and that you have the right to use them. And so again, Shutterstock, Getty images, it makes a lot of sense that they are the ones who are making this making this sort of part of their policy. And what's super interesting is that they are right now relying on users to report images. And then they're slowly, what I believe is that they're working with, so it seems like they're working with, it's called the Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity. Basically, that goal is to create a filter that automatically flags suspect images. And, what's fascinating is that if you've seen some of these images, and I'll hop back, generally the core resolution of them is not necessarily high enough to upload. Like these images are, often, I don't know if I can see it here, but they're in a high volume. So 5,500. Yes, I mean, that's a big image, 300 DPI, 5,500 pixels by 4,000 pixels, basically. So that's a massive image, whereas we look at DALL-E, I think we're looking at like, I don't even know the final one I could find it, but like 900 by 900 kind of thing. Maybe it's 1,000 by 1,000, 1,200 by 1,200. So they're not even sort of eligible for upload. But what artists have been doing is using other tools. I should have these tools right here for you if you are interested in them. But basically then they're upscaling these images to then fit the resolution guidelines or sort of, minimum viable checkpoints for these platforms to then upload them properly. So there's already sort of an intermediate step that is part of this. Additionally, these images in general are just relatively, sometimes have, something sort of weird or unique about them. And these aren't necessarily the image ones that I'm showing you here. But if you go to DALL-E and you see, you can see some of those there, the one that was just popped up, those are actual, accurate images. So people are maybe using the text prompt, photorealistic, hyper-realistic, maybe even using the exact sort of camera type in the images to then get the an output that looks completely realistic, like someone actually took that photo, and then these can be upscaled, the oddities of it can be removed out, and then they can be uploaded into the system. So overall, it's a super interesting sort of conflict, a thing that people are thinking about. And there's a quote from Jason Dewan, and he's an art director, sort of creative. It sort of talks about is like the problem is the current copyright law, it's outdated and it's not keeping up with the technology. And that's obviously true. Like a few years ago, this technology did not exist. Large language transformers were originally some of the technology that has enabled this, and then large language models. Most of this was just completely not possible. And the revolution that has come in generative AI is absolutely mind-blowing, coming at ridiculous speed. And I think will only continue to grow with obviously the technological innovation. If more funding, there's more funding coming into these spaces. There's open source people now contributing to it, and then just overall sort of adoption, use, prompt engineering, which I've created a video about it, like how do you design better prompts to make better outputs. All of this is sort of culminating and compounding into, one of the largest changes I think we've ever seen, specifically through the lens of technology. And then that has huge consequences for, who we are as people, how we interact with technology, and what we think is human, what we think is original creativity versus what a machine can do, what a computer can do. And again, Shutterstock seems like they're following in the same sort of vein, relatively the same, sort of idea as Getty Images. I would guess that they're basically direct competitors. I don't know why you choose one over the other, but obviously same sort of challenge there. And it's interesting, I see here that they have videos and they also have audio as well too. So sound effects. There is already in the works video and audio generation. So, why would you pay for a sound effect if you can generate it through a text prompt? But then where did that original sound effect or the qualities of that sound effect come into place? Is that completely novel and new? Maybe the answer is yes, but if insights from, sets of audio that had been created explicitly by, original people were what created the original version, where does that fit in this sort of policy of copyright, IP infringement, and all these things? So I think that's what I got here. I appreciate you checking this out. This has been Tyler Bryden talking about sort of Getty Images banning AI-generated images over copyright concerns. That's going to come up with audio, video. It's going to be a lot more stuff that comes in the way. But this sort of a certain, first signal, or one of, an early set of signals that we have a lot to sort of understand and deal with as generative AI continues to grow at this exponential speed and pace and continues to reach a wider audience who are using these technologies. So I hope you enjoyed this video, found something insightful about it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. I'll include some links in the library, and I look forward to making another video for you soon. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you.